Okay, I know I haven't posted anything in a while, and that's because I've been working on other projects and been working on the garage here. Um, I upgraded the electrical. Before I only had a single 15 amp breaker out here. Now I've got 60 amps of 220 volt power. Run over there. Ran another outlet over here. Got a couple 20 amp breakers. I rearranged my cabinetry. I used to have it all just along that wall there, and instead I've got a rolly cabinet in there, and I've got a workbench in there, and I also got a heater. There's a big heater installed there, so this is going to stay pretty warm out here. I put up these plastic sheeting walls here just to kind of reduce the area that needs to be heated, because haven't been working out here a whole lot. Had a good Christmas and Happy New Year with my family, and I also picked up a 60-gallon air compressor. Back up and show this beast. And so I've been working on getting that installed. I built a little platform for it so that I can bolt it down without having to bolt it to the floor, because I might want to move it one of these days. As well as I put covering on my shelving there so that I can try and keep some of the dust and dirt out of the stuff on the shelf. I'm also building an air drying manifold. Most guys do copper pipe and they run vertical legs with valves at the bottom of them, but since the space that I'm putting it in is so confined, what I'm going to do is have mine zigzag back and forth. Air will go in the top of it, it'll zigzag down through it, and then down at the bottom there will be a valve. And hopefully I'll get that done up here pretty soon. I'll quickly show you the air compressor that I was working with. This little 26-gallon Husky worked pretty good, but with running air tools, it would take a long time to fill up, and just was kind of more of a pain in the ass. I'm hoping that this guy here will do a lot better. I'm going to solder some joints together here on my manifold, and then maybe I'll bring you back. Okay, I got the manifold put up here. Just copper tubing that winds around and down. Moisture should come out of it at the bottom here at this valve, and dry air should come out of the top of it there and flow into this here filter regulator combo. I'm gonna put the compressor in its place and see how everything fits. Okay, compressor's in its place. It fits pretty well. I added a little drain valve extension there at the bottom so I can easily drain the tank. Installed the pressure regulator filter. I need to break this thing in. There's a hydraulic hose that runs from this valve here over to the inlet to the manifold, but I've got to break it in. I've got to run it for half an hour with no load on it and get it broke in, and then I can tie it in and see how things work. Okay, after that half-hour break-in, I threw my hydraulic hose on here to feed into the system. Then I ran her up to pressure. She's currently setting at 125. Yeah, I think so, 125, 130. And I don't hear air rushing out anywhere, so that's good. Got my pressure regulator set up there. I'm gonna see how long it'll sit here and hold pressure before it kicks on again, and hopefully it'll hold good air pressure, and then I know that I've done a decent job, and I can start using some air tools. Yippee-ki-yay, mother trucker. Oh, I spoke too soon. I've got an air leak here where that hydraulic hose ties in there. I'll let it depressurize a bit, and then I'll see if I can't tighten that and start over again. All right, tightened that hose up and ran her back up to 135 pounds. So now I'm gonna turn it off and let it set overnight and see what the pressure's like tomorrow. Okay, that union right there was leaking a little bit, so I took it apart, and I actually had a little bit of solder that was stuck in the end of it. Cleaned that off with a little bit of emery cloth, and then reassembled it, and it seems to be holding pressure pretty good. I'd like to put an elbow on that gauge so it'll point out this way so I can see it better. It's kind of a pain to have to look at that, but it's holding pressure now and it's looking pretty good. Here's another thing that I did. If you'll remember, I've got shelving up in the rafters there. Well, I went ahead and filled that in with particle board, which I put on the top side of the rafters to try and prevent some heat loss there, because I was with that empty cavity up in there, it had all the heat going up and out. And I made these so that you can, damn it. Okay, I made these so that I could open them and get up in there. And so in between each rafter here is basically a hatch that you can get in and see what you've got stored up there and pull it down if need be. Works pretty good. It's just a lot of cutting pieces and getting it all to fit up in there, but it looks good. Here's a quick look up in the rafters, and you can see what all I've got stored up here. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, up in here I've got all kinds of various car parts. I've got some aluminum and pipe stock and bins of this, that, and the other. I insulated up in here. I didn't go all the way across because I had the shelf already built on that side. But as you can see, there's the radiator, steering wheel bumpers. I've got inner fenders back off in that corner, and dash pieces and windshields and stuff like that. And seat, the back seat is up here. There's the back of it, and the front of it is over there somewhere, I think. I'm not entirely sure. Or the bottom of that back seat is somewhere. I don't remember where I put it. Anyway, it's up in here. And like I said, each one of these guys is a trap door, so you can get up in here. And I like it. I think it looks pretty good, and hopefully it functions quite well. Time will tell. Okay, I'm also going to remove the garage door opener so it's out of my way. And whenever I do that, I need to remember this is the connection to the switch, and these guys over here are the connection for the laser beams. And remember that, because it'll have to go back that way. I got this Reel Works spring-driven hose reel, 3/8 inch. I'm going to be mounting it over here next to the compressor. First thing I got to do though is swap that arm so that it faces out this way, and then install a 1/4 inch elbow on the side over here so that I can connect my little whip hose, this guy right here, from there to that guy, as well as I'm going to put an elbow on this guy so it points down, and then I also want to put an elbow on the gauge so it points out here towards me so I can read it. And we'll see how that works out. And she's mounted. Ta-da! I've got the gauge on the regulator here so that I can see it. An elbow down so that my airline isn't sticking out this way. Got an elbow down on that guy, so that's good. And she's all mounted into place. Pretty solid, pretty stable. I had to build a little platform for it to get it up over that little drain line there. So far, so good. Ran her up to pressure, and she's holding steady. Let's see here, 130, 135, somewhere in there. Manifold's not leaking. I used my little makeshift spray bottle here. Take a water bottle and cut a hole in the lid of it, and you have an instant spray bottle. Just tip it over and squeeze it. But this guy here, looking pretty good. The next task is going to be to turn my garage into a spray paint booth, and I'll do that tomorrow. Okay, so I've got the air compressor installed, and I want to do some sandblasting and some painting in here. In order to do that, I don't want to get sand everywhere in the garage, so I want to build a little paint booth, a little blast and paint booth. And I figured this poly here, this 6mm vapor barrier, construction vapor barrier, would be a pretty good thing to make walls out of for such an occasion. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the poly and I'm stapling it to little pieces of 1x2 that are 8 feet long, and that gives me 8-foot long sections of wall, which I can then hang from the ceiling, and hopefully that makes a pretty good bond up there. I mean, I wouldn't expect a whole lot of dirt and dust to get up there, but as you can see here, now the ceiling in my garage is 8.5 feet tall, and this poly is 8.5 feet long, which is perfect for walls that fit tight. Now then, if you're sandblasting or spraying a bunch of stuff, you'll get it underneath this, and it'll get everywhere. A simple solution to that is take a 2x4 or some other piece of wood and just staple it along the bottom, along the floor. Or you can turn the poly sideways and make it as long as you want it. Now that's what I've done over here, is I've made these sections 9 feet long, so I've got lots of overhang on the floor, and I can just tuck that up and tape up the seams a little bit. Like I've got a little seam here. Tape up the seams and use that to keep the dust out of the rest of the garage. These sections here, doing that, if you do the lengthwise and you're using 8-foot long pieces of 1x2, you end up with 3 inches overhang on either end, which is great for making those joints there. However, on this end, I wanted to have more overlap than just 3 inches, because this is how I'm going to get in and out. So I turned it sideways, and I ran it, a foot overhang on either end, and I'll use that for an entryway. So I can go through here, and hopefully that'll keep the sand out of the rest of the shop. Now, how I'm attaching these to the ceiling, I'll show you, is I'm putting hooks up there. See those hooks? Yeah, and what those are is they're just cheapo tool hooks. Pick these up at Canadian Tire for a couple bucks or whatever. Take one of these guys, and if you attach it to the ceiling like that, your wood's never going to stay in there. It's going to fall out. So I'm taking that and I'm reshaping it a bit to where it has more of a profile of the wood, as well as I'm punching a single hole in the middle of it so that I can screw it to the rafters, and then slip the wall piece right in there, and then it holds it, just like these guys. And just for safety measure, I've put a little screw there so it doesn't slide out. And so far that's working pretty well. I'll be finished with this shortly, I hope. All right, got the blast booth, paint booth all set up here. I got poly all the way around. It's looking pretty good down to the floor. I've got a little bit of cleanup left to do, and I'll probably put some tuck tape on some of the seams. But all in all, it went up pretty easy. With those hooks up there, I can take it down in about 5 minutes, roll these things up, and stow them somewhere. So I'm really looking forward to getting back on this beast and getting started and getting some stuff done. Rock on.